Hello everyone, welcome back to another battle report of Marvel Crisis Protocol. Today for you we have a 20 threat match using the latest Crisis card available for the game from the Gambit Rogue box. And speaking of which, some of, not all of, the newest mutant releases are also going to be on the table. It's the Uncanny X-Men versus the X-Force today. Let's look at the teams and get started. So here is our Uncanny X-Men team. Now, just to get this clear in case anyone spots it, it's a 20 threat match being played. Originally this list had Jean Grey in it, however managed to get Colossus finished up, and I want to see the new mutants, see how they perform. So Jean Grey has been dropped in favour of having Colossus, which does mean that the team has a deficit of 1 threat. It's 19, not 20. This is just for fun though, so the X-Force are having that little handicap in their favour just for the sake of seeing 3 new models instead of 2. So with that said, Cyclops is going to be leading the team. We have Colossus in place of Jean Grey, he's going to be tanking. We have Wolverine to maybe do the fastball special with him. And then we have Gambit and Rogue. Rogue seems very, very good. Gambit seems pretty decent in his own right, as long as he has enough power to play with. We'll see how they do. And their tactics cards: fastball special, pardon me sugar, indomitable, charming thief, and mind if I cut in. So also 5 minis in the X-Force roster, of course being led by Cable. Then we also have Domino, we have Cassandra Nova, who's just here as a guest I suppose, Deadpool, and Sabretooth. And again, they add up to 20 threats, so they have a 1 threat advantage just because of that last minute swap out. And their tactics cards are Cat and Mouse, Yoink, Dirty Work, Pretty Sneaky Sis, and Chimichangas. And here is the 2 Crisis cards being played. So the new secure 20 threat from the Gambit Rogue box, Superpowered Scoundrels form Sinister Syndicate. There's 5 ambush tokens on the map. You score 1 victory point for each one you're securing in the cleanup phase. And if someone outside of contesting range is attacking someone who is in contesting range, they always get cover. Which is pretty neat for that 1 guaranteed block. The other mission being played, the Extraction Montesi formula, that's the 3 books in the Gamma Shelter setup. You can only hold 1 book, and if you do hold the book, you get access to a Beam 3 6 dice energy attack. So, we pull back here, the 3 books in a line, and then the 5 ambush spots, 1 dead center, so the book's on top of it, and then 1, 2, 3, and 4 down there. So we're back at deployment. So we are all set up and good to go. The Uncanny X-Men are deployed to your left and the X-Force are to your right. There's a little bit of pre-game movement thanks to Cat and Mouse being played, which we've seen before, but just to go over it again real quick. It's an X-Force reactive. After everyone is deployed, an X-Force character can play the card. You place them within 2, and they can only make 1 move during their activation, which has resulted in Cable being 2 forwards there, so he's basically already claiming that back ambush spot. Domino's down there next to him. Cassandra Nova, Sabretooth, and Deadpool all kind of in a line there. She's hidden. There she is. She's hidden by the tree. Then down here we have Colossus, Wolverine, and Cyclops. We have Rogue up here in the building, and then right down the other side of the building here, in shadow, is Gambit doing sneaky things. So with that, let's jump into Battle Round 1 and see how this plays out. So it was Gambit who got the game started. He is a medium move, and he only really needed 1 movement to get where he ended up. But he went to the closest ambush token and is holding that. And he could have technically hidden behind the building partially there, but the objective itself is already giving him cover to anyone who's not contesting, so it didn't really matter. Deadpool was first up for the X-Force, and it was pretty much a copy move for him, except he was a bit more gutsy with his placement on the far side of the ambush token there. And during his turn, Deadpool spent 1 power on the Chimichangas, although he basically just instantly gets that back because he's holding it, and at the end of the turn, anyone holding the Chimichangas gains 1 power, heals 1 damage or a special condition. So he's holding on to that now. He's a danger to himself when he's holding it on his healthy side, but what else can you do? Cyclops activated, moved up once to the far side of the closest book, paid his 1 power to pick it up, and then medium moved again, such that he came round a tight corner on the fence there, and he is contesting the central ambush point and the books there, but even if he had another power he couldn't pick it up because you can only hold 1. Domino moved into position using a move and a bit to get on the far side of the closest ambush token. The Cable's next to it, keep in mind, although Cable's moved, he still has an activation to go. So she's hiding there between the wall and the point, and couldn't get line of sight over the wall on Cyclops there. So the Metal Man Colossus activated for the Uncanny X-Men next. He's a slow mover on a larger base than the standard size, So he moved up small once, and then decided to just move small again to the far side of the ambush token there. He wants to be taking some fire, and Cable might be willing to facilitate that later in the turn. Cassandra Nova was next up for the X-Force. She decided it was no longer necessary to hide behind a tree, so it was pretty much a similar move to Cyclops' turn. She moved once in order to pick up the book closest to X-Force's deployment, and then she can fly, so she just hovered over the building and plopped it down right there, also contesting the central ambush point, and is willing to cause a ruckus next turn. Logan moved up next for the Uncanny X-Men to the far side of the ambush token as well, right next to Colossus. What possible strategy could they possibly have in mind for the next turn? We can only guess until we get there. So Cable activated second last activation for the X-Force. He hopped up onto the cart and then wanted to fire his energy rifle. Colossus and Wolverine are both rocking the same energy defense, but Colossus has a reduced damage taken by 1 to a minimum of 1 rule because of his steel skin. So opted to shoot Wolverine instead. It would have done 2 damage, but he was in that cover there for 1 damage removed, which is just as well because his defense roll was 3 skulls. Wild did get through though, so Wolverine is incinerated. He's a little bit on fire. So now it's over to Rogue to end off Uncanny X-Men's first turn. So not much for Rogue to do. She just moved down. She flies. So she went down there to help Gambit secure that point, block the way so that Sabretooth can't just run in and take, well, not take control of it, but make it a draw for lack of scoring. So she did that to force him to do something else, and it is over to him to end off the first battle round already. So knowing that the Uncanny X-Men are going to be retaining first activation for battle round 2, that kind of limited what Sabretooth wanted to do. Didn't want to throw himself in for no reason. So he moved long up the street, but then decided to climb, so reduced movement, and clambered up onto the building here. So that gives him options, because from there, next turn he could reach the ambush token down there, he could help Cassandra in the middle, he could help hold the back point with Deadpool, so it gives him options. And with that, we're on to scoring. So at the end of battle round 1, everything is tied up nice and even. Both teams have a book each. Cyclops has got one of the Montesi Formula books, Cassandra has the other, and they're both staring down the one that nobody bothered to pick up in battle round 1. In terms of ambush tokens, Wolverine, Colossus holding that one for X-Men, this one's obviously held by X-Force, Deadpool's holding that one for X-Force, and Rogue and Gambit holding that one as well. So both teams are even on 3 victory points each. Uncanny X-Men keeping priority as previously stated. With that, let's jump into battle round 2. So battle round 2 got started with the fastball special, which is hopefully visible. Wolverine activated, but as long as Colossus is within 2 of Wolverine, they each spend 1 to play the card. Wolverine's thrown medium. The person he hits, assuming he collides with someone, rolls 2 fewer dodge dice, and they also get guaranteed bleed. So Colossus picked Wolverine up, chucked him down the street right into Domino there, and she whiffed her defense roll, her dodge roll, sorry. She got literally 0 successes. He counts as size 3 when thrown because of his adamantium skeleton, so it was 4 damage coming in. Would have bled her as well. It's not there because it didn't matter. He then spent his 3 power on, is it adamantium slash? Is that his spender? No, Berserker Barrage, of course. How could I forget Berserker Barrage? He used Berserker Barrage, and there was no point wasting power on trying to get rerolls on crits with her probability matrix because she was not going to survive. So she just banked the power, took 4 more damage from that, and is dazed. Now that was only one of his actions because the fastball special wasn't an action, so he then tried to just do his basic attack on Cable. He buffed his defense. 4th dimension he did buff Domino's defense as well, didn't make a difference. And he fully blocked the damage coming in and no bleed or anything like that. But Wolverine is now contesting that point, and he healed the 1 damage he had with healing factor at the end of his turn. So Sabretooth activated first for the X-Force and decided where to go. He leapt off the building into contesting range of the central ambush point. He unleashed his basic strike. He spiked pretty hard with 3 crits in the roll, and Cyclops whiffed on his defense. Took 5 damage. He has got 6 HP on his healthy side though, and thankfully for him there was no wilds for pierce or bleed. But he is 1 away from death. Oh, and also Sabretooth paid 1 to pick up the book that was on the central ambush point, forgot to mention that. So he and Cassandra are both holding books now, and Cyclops is in a lot of trouble, so he's probably going to be the next one to activate. So it was Cyclops who activated next, and he spent a total of 6 power, everything he had, on a hit and run optic devastation. He didn't want to hit Sabretooth because he can counter and get a free attack off, which could take him out. So he hit Cassandra, did really well against her 3 energy defense. So she took 4 damage from it, and then he retreated over to roughly there-ish with his medium move. For his other actual action, he retreated again, and is back here on the far side, within bodyguarding distance of Colossus, who does have a bodyguard, although it's called Big Brother or something like that, but it's bodyguard. So he retreated a little bit. Cassandra's hurting a little bit now as well, but she does have a lot of power to play with. So Cassandra Nova did activate, and she's no coward, and remember she has healing factor 1, so she healed 1 at the end of her turn, so she's got 3 damage on her now. She medium moved, flew over the wall, right there, and then she used the book, and she targeted Cyclops first, and I forgot that upon doing Fastball Special, Colossus did not have the 2 power required to bodyguard, he only had 1 power. So unfortunately for Scott, he took 4 damage, is dazed, and the book has been dropped there because Cassandra can't hold it. So she's put it in such a way that if Colossus wants it, he's going to have to move. Speaking of which, he got hit for the book because it's a beam attack, so it hit both of them. He got hit for 3, reduced to 2 because of his metal rule, and he whiffed his roll pretty badly there. So Cassandra had a pretty decent turn. She's still got 3 damage on her, and she's also not contesting anything where she's standing, but she did take Cyclops out of the equation for now. So we're staying over this end of the table. Colossus activated, and he fell for a little bit of a Cassandra Nova trap. He had to move if he wanted to pick up the book, which he did. He moved there, so he's between the ambush point and where the book was. He paid his 1 power, picked it up. But because he ended a move within 3 of her, she spent 2 or 3, however much it is, it's 2 on Psychic Distraction. You roll 4 dice, and for any crits and wilds, you deal damage to them. So Colossus did 2 damage to himself, although that's reduced to 1. From where he was for his other actual action, because the move was just 1, he did his basic strike on Cassandra, 5 dice physical with concussive force on wilds, although there was no wilds. Still managed to do 2 more damage to her though, so she is hurting, although so is he. Cable activated, and he had a super simple turn. He didn't even move. He fired his plasma rifle downwind twice into poor Colossus because he's range 5. First one hit him for 3 down to 2, leaving him on 1 HP. Did incinerate him. It's not there anymore because another hit got through. Hit him for 2, reduced to 1, exactly enough to daze him. He's kind of okay with being dazed though, because he becomes much better on his flip side. He gets blanks count as successes on his blocks against physical and energy, and plus 1 HP I think. But either way, oh yeah, and he actually did spend a little bit of power. He spent 2 on Bushamoi to get 2 extra defense dice to counter the incinerate, to get plus 1 essentially. Didn't help. So Cable's still there, and the book that Colossus was holding has been dropped next to Cassandra. So Rogue activated next with Uncanny X-Men, and she had a busy turn, tried a lot of stuff. Some stuff worked, some stuff didn't, but it helps cover the kind of things she can do. So she started by spending 2 on charge, so that's a move and an attack. She moved. She could not get close enough to contest the ambush token, so Deadpool had cover from her attacks. The basic strike got 2 damage through. No wilds, which is annoying for her because she has sap power on her basic strike, so she didn't steal anything there. She then used Pardon Me Sugar, and it does a bunch of different stuff depending on who Rogue is standing next to, but the Deadpool one, if she's within 2 of Deadpool, she can play this card, choose an enemy character within 2, that character loses 2 power, Deadpool suffers 1 damage. Now because the card doesn't specify friendlies or enemies, presumably she can use the enemy Deadpool and still hit him, as in he loses 2 power but then also loses the 1 damage. That might need some clarification going forwards once it's out in America and they update stuff on this. We'll see. So Deadpool took an additional 1 damage from that, and then for her other actual action, oh no sorry, before that though, she spent 2 more power that she got from the punch on Mutant Absorption. You roll 5 dice, and then for every hit crit wild, the target loses, target within 2, loses power equal to that, and if they don't have enough power to lose, they lose health instead. Now she drained some power off of him, not enough to hurt him, so she had to basic strike him. Only got 1 hit through, but that was enough that he's dazed. The Chimichanga is dropped there because she does not have enough to pick it up, and she's not close enough to claim the objective either. So thanks to Domino being dazed over here by Wolverine and Deadpool getting dazed just there, we're actually already at the end after Gambit's activation, which means that priority is going to be shifting. So we'll quickly cover what Gambit did. He moved up, paid 1 power, nicked the Chimichanga off the floor, moved back, slightly replaced so he's within 3 just barely I think of Deadpool, but he's still holding this back ambush token, and the Chimichanga regenerates that 1 power he spent to pick it up anyway. So yeah, we're at the end of Battle Round 2. So at the end of the second battle round, there's 1 book still on the floor right there, and the X-Force hold the other 2. Cassandra's holding 1, and Sabretooth is holding 1, so that's 2 victory points gained there. Sabretooth is also holding the central ambush token right there. They're holding none of the others. It's a draw here between Cable and Wolverine, they're both healthy. No one is holding this one. Deadpool's dazed and Rogue isn't close enough, so no one's holding that one either. So yeah, the only points they got there were from the books, and the Uncanny X-Men, they're holding that back ambush token, and that is it. Because again, everyone else is dazed or not quite in range. So the X-Force take the lead, it's 6 playing 4 as we go into Battle Round 3, and the X-Force have also stolen priority. So Battle Round 3 got started with Cassandra Nova trying to use flesh manipulation on Colossus, which was a mistake from the start given that he has metal skin, but whatever. She tried it on him because she was just within range 2 and he would have bodyguarded anyway, and he fully blocked it thanks to blanks counting as successes against physical and energy, because that is a physical based attack. So for her other action, she made use of the fact she can fly, cut the corner there, flew over the wall, and is now over there, still holding on to a book, and she healed 1 as well, so she's back to 4 damage on her. Wolverine activated first for the Uncanny X-Men and decided to play a bit tactically. He moved back medium, paid 1 power, and picked up the book that was in the street there from the previous turn. And then he backed up again, so that there is a healthy character holding this back ambush point, so that Cyclops and Colossus can maybe move up. Deadpool activated and decided it was time to get out of dodge and leave the ambush objective over there, so he climbed up the building with reduced movement, and then used his other action just to hop over here. Now I'm very certain that we did not cover Sabretooth's second turn on camera. That's because he did nothing. He activated and unactivated to hold the central point to keep the point spread in the X-Force's favour, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't mentioned on camera. Might be wrong, but I'm fairly sure it wasn't. But either way, Deadpool's over there helping him out now, and on his flip side, he still counts as healthy, or rather he starts counting as healthy on that side too, because of Now It's Serious, I think it's called. Cyclops decided to separate out a little bit. He's not on his healthy side anymore anyway, so he's not holding the point. He moved here and shot some eye lasers at Sabretooth, got him for 2 damage, and then Sabretooth activated his passive aggression, so if he takes damage he's allowed to move towards him small, and that's exactly what he did. Didn't start within 2 though, so he couldn't do the counter where he gets to attack, but he's sitting on a lot of power, and Cyclops might be in for a spot of trouble. So Sabretooth activated, meaning that he healed 1 at the end of his turn, so he's back to 1 damage on him. He spent on a Savage Predator, and he got a hit and a crit in the roll, or a hit in a wild, whichever it is, a hit in a wild, for a finisher, so he could do a basic strike afterwards with full rerolls on that basic strike, which is just as well, because he only got the 2 successes on the Savage Predator. It was not a good roll, Cyclops fully blocked it, but the basic strike with full rerolls did much better, got 3 through with Pierce, I believe. No, he didn't go in. He didn't get any wilds on that roll because it would have bled as well. Did 3 of his 6 health on his wounded side. And then for his other action, he decided to back off again, just to go back to holding that central point. So Cyclops is half dead. He got him very lucky there, though, to be honest. It's a bit of a burner activation, but Gambit activated. He did move ever so slightly, so he's just within 1 of the ambush point he's holding, but a bit closer to where the action might be. He's prepping for next turn. Right now the X-Force is going to gain 2 over the Uncanny X-Men if things stay the same, I believe. So that 2-point deficit is going to mean that if everything stays the same, they're destined to lose, so they have to do something different. But this turn, he's just getting into position and banking a little bit of extra power thanks to the chimichanga he stole off of Deadpool. So Cable's continued adventures of riding the top of that car and just shooting lasers at people continues, because he just stayed up there, fired his plasma rifle twice at Wolverine, although the first one was big brothered onto Colossus. So for his trouble, Colossus took 1 damage. That wasn't 2 reduced to 1, he just took 1. With the Incinerate on a wild, so he's now on fire. The second one, he did have enough to Big Brother again, opted not to. Wolverine took 3 from that with his reduced defense. Still very much alive with 4 health left. So it's over to Colossus or Rogue next. So of those 2, it was Rogue who activated, and she also is playing the same game as Gambit. She's moving into position such that she's holding that ambush token, but is prepped to hopefully help out either by flying over the building here, or just coming down the street to do some good next turn. Last activation for the X-Force, Battle Round 3, was Domino. She moved up the street here, and then shot her Lucky Shot, which is her best attack. You don't generate power on it, and it has stun on a wild, I think. She shot at Wolverine, but Colossus decided to be a big brother and take the hit for him. Took 1 damage again. That wasn't 2 reduced to 1, that was just 1 on his reduced defense dice against energy, and lived. So it was over to the big metal man Colossus to end the turn. Sadly, he didn't really pop off. He did 2 basic strikes into Domino. The first one just did not get through her defense. The second one, it was going to do 2, but thanks to Probability Matrix, she helped herself along and brought it down to 1 damage. On the plus side, if there is a plus side, he does now have enough power sitting on him again to bodyguard one more time. So there is that. And with that, we're on to scoring. So then Battle Round 3, the X-Force are retaining first activation for Battle Round 4, but the Uncanny X-Men did actually manage to pull back some ground. The X-Force have 2 of the 3 books, one on Sabretooth, one on Cassandra Nova for 2 victory points. They're holding the Central Ambush token for 1 victory point. They are holding this Ambush point here as well for a total of 4 victory points gained, taking them up to 10. Uncanny X-Men, Wolverine is the healthy character holding this point right here. Gambit and Rogue respectively are holding the others, and Wolverine also has a book. So they also gained 4, so the maths was wrong earlier, and that took them up to 8. So they're only 2 behind as we go into Battle Round 4. So the battle round got started with Cable activating, and he decided of his own volition to come down from his car throne. That wasn't before he shot his 2 plasma rifle shots. He moved via body sliding for 2 power, so that's why he slid forwards 2 to where you eventually see him. He shot at Wolverine both times. Both times it was bodyguarded by Colossus doing his job, taking hits for the other X-Men. Each time he ended up taking 1 damage. It was taking that 1 damage in the first hit. They gave him enough power to do it again. So he's up to a total of 3 damage on his wounded side. He has 7 health. He's still very much alive and also very much on fire. But Cable was moving in because he's sitting on a lot of power to probably try and do a nice tasty Uncanny Sun next turn. Oh, totally forgot to mention before we go into the Uncanny X-Men's first activation, during the power phase, Charming Thief was put into effect by Gambit. You don't need to pay anything, it's just during the power phase Gambit plays the card. Any enemy character within 4 of Gambit that uses a reactive or active superpower, Gambit gains 1 power, because he's just stealing a little something for himself. So it's probably going to be left sitting roughly near him, so that we try and remember. So that was semi-relevant because Gambit was next up. He hopped the fence and moved into position here where you can see him to spend 3 power, I think it is, or 4? 4 on 52 card pickup, his energy beam attack. It hit Sabretooth and Deadpool, and it didn't roll very well, unfortunately. And the good part of the attack is that wilds count as 2 successes. The other good part is that he has a roll called a little something extra, where if he throws in an extra power, he can change a hit to a wild, so you're essentially turning 1 success into 2. Neither roll against either of his targets included any hits. There was a couple of wilds in there, there was a couple of crits, there was a lot of misses, a lot of shields, etc. So Deadpool fully blocked the damage. Sabretooth took 2 damage, and then he countered with, what's it called? Untamed Fury, where he gets to do a strike because Gambit's within 2. Activating that superpower, however, gave Gambit 1 power, thanks to Charming Thief, and he whiffed. He didn't do anything. No, he did not whiff. He did 1 damage, but the Chimichanga at the end of his activation healed that 1 damage, which is why it's not saying there. Could have been a lot better. It's a real shame. That could have been a massive play with the extra power to throw in to turn hits into crits, and there just wasn't any hits. So we're sticking with the middle of the map here, but you'll notice that both Gambit and Sabretooth are gone. So Sabretooth activated, which means he healed 1 at the end of his turn. He used Savage Predator on Gambit, and this is where there was a little bit of a rules mix, because he got the criteria for doing a basic strike afterwards, and it says after the attack is resolved, do a strike, etc. But Gambit has a counter he can do after an attack against him is resolved as well. So it was just which one procced first. I believe it's correct that the defensive character gets to react first. Might be misremembering, by all means point it out. So Gambit used Enhanced Agility, which deals 1 damage to his attacker, and then he gets to run away small, which is why he is now back on the objective. The Savage Predator did 2 damage to him, and then Sabretooth, for his other action, since he didn't have anything else to do, he moved along over here, and as I said, his healing factor just means that damage is gone. Wolverine activated for the Uncanny X-Men and started with the Best at What I Do, which is a move followed by an Adamantium Slash where each wild counts as 2 successes. He went into Domino with it. Cable boosted her defense, giving her 2 extra defense dice, spending 2 for that, and she used Probability Manipulation to turn a couple of skulls into crits. All said and done, 1 hit got through. Wolverine did consider using the book to hit Cable as well, but feeding Cable more power didn't seem like a good idea because there's not much chance of him getting taken out by the people over there. So instead he just did another Adamantium Slash for his other turn. Didn't do any damage, but did get the wild through that time to bleed her. So Domino survived pretty well there, with a little bit of help. Wanting to get out of Rogue's threat radius, Cassandra activated, moved over here, next to the ambush objective, and then did her basic Psionic Bolt on Wolverine, who's rocking 1 Mystic Defense currently because he's on fire, but he rolled a crit, and the only success in her roll was a crit that turned into a blank, so nothing there at all, didn't even sap any power from him. Cyclops activated and finally had a good turn, started by spending 2 on a hit and run, fired his optical blast at Deadpool, who had cover obviously because he was there. I keep forgetting to mention it, but has been getting remembered most of the time. He got hit for 2 damage, no particular danger there, but Scott used that movement on hit and run to move into position there to do an optic devastation on Cassandra Nova and Sabretooth, and he'd managed to do 3 to Cassandra, which was exactly enough to daze her. She dropped his book, well, the book, which then became his book because he paid 1 to pick it up, and we got the first major spike of the game. He did 6 damage to Sabretooth. He dropped his book, can't hold 2, so that has been dropped 2 away there, but he did get a double daze, and as I say, the first super spike of the game. Really good turn for him there. Well, after seeing the kind of damage done to Sabretooth and Cassandra, Domino activated and thought, I can probably do better than that, I'm lucky enough. And speaking of which, she used Lucky Shot for 3 on Cyclops, 6 die energy, rolled a bunch of hits and crits, and got him for 7 damage. So Cyclops, as good as you just did, buddy, he is out of there. And he dropped the book that he just picked up. Domino paid 1 to pick it up and then ran away over here. Now, she didn't get rid of her bleed, so she has taken 1 damage, but she's holding a book and removed the leader. Rogue activated, moved Medium down the street next to the book within 1, paid 1, picked it up, then moved Medium again to claim the back ambush token there because they're both dazed. So she is the only one currently on that. And with that, it is over to Deadpool to be the final activation for the X-Force this turn. And then I think Colossus still gets to go for the now leaderless Uncanny X-Men. Deadpool kickflipped his way up the building and then jumped off the far side to go claim the ambush token that Rogue left behind, and he healed back to full damage as well. I forgot to mention, but obviously after Wolverine's turn he also healed, although I think he still has, yeah, he's still got a couple of damage left. So it is over to Colossus, that is, to end off the turn. So poor old Colossus didn't have much luck. He tried a basic strike on Cable, who didn't even boost his defense, and did nothing. So for his other action he just decided to shake his Incinerate so that he might be able to bodyguard a bit better in the next turn, and that does take us to scoring. So then about round 4, there's absolutely still everything to play for. It's actually a really close match. So the X-Force, Domino's got the book that she took off of Cyclops when she removed Cyclops from the table for 1 victory point. She is holding the center there for a victory point, and Deadpool has the other ambush token over there for a victory point. Those are the only ones they're holding, so they only gained 3 there, taking them up to 13. 13 I think. May have miscounted 1 there in the scoreboard. I think, yeah, because they definitely scored 3. Maybe it took them to 12, because I could have sworn they were at 10 before, but maybe they were at 9. The X-Men, Rogue is holding this one, plus she's got a book, so she's scoring 2. Wolverine is holding this one, he also has a book, so that's another 2 for a total of 4. And Gambit is holding that one over there for a total of 5. Definitely right about their score. They are sitting on 13. And it is the X-Force retaining first activation as we go into battle round 5 with 3 victory points needed for the X-Men and I believe 4 for the X-Force. Quickly went back and checked the footage, and yes, the scoring there was slightly off. X-Force are identically on 13 points with Uncanny X-Men. Both teams need 3 points to win, so it is absolutely everything to play for. So Cable got battle round 5 started, although I just noticed there's still daze tokens on the table that need to be removed. He moved up in between Wolverine and Colossus and did a Scanny Sun for 6 power, which is his area 2 Mystic. So Colossus doesn't count successes or blanks as successes against Mystic attacks. He resolved against Colossus first, hoping to remove him so that Wolverine would get hit. 2 damage reduced to 1, so Colossus had enough left over that he could bodyguard for Wolverine, and it's just as well he did because it was a spike. Wolverine definitely would have been taken out by it. As it is, it did 5 down to 4 damage to Colossus, so he went down swinging and he took so much damage on behalf of Wolverine. He did what he was supposed to do, so not too sad to see him get off the table, but yeah, he is gone. and now it's two healthy characters contesting the same point. So Wolverine activated, and at the end of his activation healed back to full. He'd started with an Adamantium Slash on Cable, managed to get 2 damage through, which is more than he needed by 1, because he just wanted enough power to initiate a Best at What I Do for a move and Adamantium Slash on Domino, which also gets him controlling that middle objective, because she's wounded and he's not. But unfortunately she fully blocked the damage, no bleed or anything, but maybe relatively safe where he is. So you should be able to see there's been some shifting going around. However, something I forgot to mention on camera, when Cyclops originally moved up in Optic Devastationed Cassandra and Sabretooth, Cassandra did use psionic deflections or whatever it's called, where she can potentially hurt someone that moves within 3 of her. Rolled nothing. It did nothing, just forgot to mention it. So anyway, she activated, she hopped the wall and then used for 1 Mind Possession on Wolverine, 6 dice Mystic. Hit him for 3, but more importantly, after it's resolved, she gets to move them their speed. So she advanced him right next to Sabretooth and off of that objective. So that might be very crucial there. So Rogue activated and didn't have that great of a turn. Her goal was to try and protect Wolverine at all costs. She did her mutant absorption, first of all, on Sabretooth, sapped a couple of power off him, and then for her actual actions just did 2 of her basic strikes, didn't get any sap power on either of them, and he did well with his defense rolls. The first one got through for 1, the second one got through for nothing. He opted not to spend power on countering either, didn't want to feed power into her to potentially chuck anything or anything like that, saving all that power to try and hit Wolverine as hard as possible. So it all came down to Sabretooth. He did a Savage Predator and he threw in No Mercy, had exactly enough power to do that, which means that he was rolling 3 extra dice because of the 3 wounds on Wolverine, which is the most it can add in, and he did real well. He did 6, which is more than enough that Wolverine dazed, dropped the book, and he did get the criteria on the finisher to do a strike, and it doesn't say it has to be the same target, so he did that on Rogue, got 2 damage through, which is all we needed, because he just needed to do 1 to get power in order to then pick up the book. And he is holding it. He technically could, he has 1 more action, he could run away, he could try and take out Rogue, although she's got 4 health left and he's got no power, so it would just be a basic strike. In terms of anyone else left, it's just Gambit and Deadpool who are both sitting on points. So I think, yeah, he'll see if he spikes against Rogue, and then that's it, because I think there's nothing else that can be done. Nope, for that strike he would do exactly 1 more damage, so she would very much be still on her feet, also be the only healthy one holding that point. So we'll see how this breaks even as we look at the final scores. So at the end of Battle Round 5 we do have a conclusion. X-Force, they've got a book on Sabretooth and Domino. They are holding this ambush point, the centre, and the one Deadpool is on. That takes them to a total of 18, so 2 above the minimum required to win. The Uncanny X-Men though, they still have the 3rd book on Rogue. Rogue is holding this point, and Gambit is holding that one, which gave them the 3 they need. They did get to 16 as well, so they both got to or surpassed the amount required to win, but because the X-Force got up to 18 as opposed to 16, we're going to call it there as an X-Force victory, but that was a close one. So of the 3 new X-Men mutants on the table, I think Rogue probably didn't do as well as she should do on paper. Her absorbing strikes, or her mutant absorption plus her sap on her basic strikes, very bad rolls for the most part. I don't think any of her basic strikes had a single wild in them, so we didn't get to see her full potential. But her first attack on Deadpool was really good, because you'd think Deadpool would have a bunch of power to spend after that, but nope. She stole it all with mutant absorption, or not all of it, but most of it. So she can hit people and keep them down power-wise, or if she sees a big play, like if she was closer to Cable, she could go sap his power to stop him from doing a Uncanny Sun. So she might have been a bit misplaced being on the left flank, but Gambit did okay. His 52 card pickup definitely could have been better. Man of the match out of the 3 of these was definitely Colossus. He took about 6 hits, 5 or 6, from Wolverine to keep Wolverine standing. He kept on fighting. He's great on his flip side. He's good on his other side as well, his healthy side. It's a shame we didn't get to see him attack more. His strikes were pretty poor in terms of results. But yeah, he gives the X-Men a much needed bullet shield. He just needs to keep on being fed that power to be able to do it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this battle report. Thank you very much for watching. Go check out unboxings if you haven't already of the new miniatures. And I'll see you next time. Ta-ta for now.